To Senegal now, which has held snap elections after the president dissolved parliament, hoping to sweep through ambitious reforms. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, seen here casting his ballot earlier today, is hoping for a legislative majority. In March, he became Africa's youngest elected leader, running on an anti-establishment platform which appealed to Senegal's large population of young voters. But the opposition-led parliament has hampered his government's efforts to implement its reforms, leading Faye to dissolve parliament in September and call snap elections as soon as the constitution allowed him to do so. Well, for more, I'm joined in the studio by Mamadou Diallo. He is a teaching fellow and PhD candidate at Columbia University. Welcome, Mamadou. Great to have you at DW. So this is a legislative election, but as we've explained, it really is being seen as an attempt for the president to actually be able to push through his promised reforms and to get a mandate from the people to do so. Will he succeed?
Given the way the campaign has unfolded and the electoral trajectory of the PASTEF over the last 10 years, the PASTEF is the president's political party, I think there are high chances that they will have a comfortable majority at the Senegalese parliament. The question is how broad that majority will be.
Well, Senegal is facing a variety of challenges. One very crucial challenge is the spiraling fiscal crisis. The deficit was much larger than was thought to be the case. What kind of an impact is this having on the citizens?
I think what is really singular in the moment that we are living is not so much the fiscal crisis, because Senegal has long been mired in all kinds of deficits, whether budgetary or of the balances of payment and so on, but the fact that the current government has decided to be transparent about public accounts, both vis-à-vis the Senegalese public and its international partners. So it is the fact that the government decided to be open, transparent about the lack of transparency of previous regimes that has induced the current moment. As to the difficulties of the population, I think salaries are being paid to civil servants up to now. The government is not defaulting on any of its obligations. And what Senegalese people are mostly facing, and it's been going on for a couple of years, has been the inflation.
So you mentioned salaries are still being paid, but the government has been promising that it would boost the economy, it would create jobs. How are they likely to do this?
I think they have been rather, despite the call to transform the economy, been modest at the same time. They have announced a plan for 2050, and the idea is to raise the GDP per capita from 1,600 USD, that it is now, to 4,600 USD by 2050, which is quite modest. Senegal has just started oil exploitation. Natural gas production will resume soon. So one can expect growth to happen, but what will be really challenging is changing the structure of the economy from an economy that is dominated by the service sector to one where there is actual transformation of raw materials and industry and so on.
What about the regional implications of this election? What kind of an impact is it likely to have?
I think this is very important because Bassirou Diomaye Faye came to power on the shoulders of an enthusiastic, young, and popular electorate. And Senegalese democracy and institutions allowed for an outlet for that political sensibility. In a region where military coup has happened repeatedly over the last years, the success of this regime over this mandate will send a message to the region as to whether liberal democracy can be a vehicle for the kind of changes that the youth of the region are expecting to happen.
Well, in the run-up to the presidential election that took place in March, there was some very serious violence. Are people worried that there might be similar levels of unrest now?
I don't think so. I was just speaking to my father a few hours ago. He went and voted as he always do. Everything was quiet. I think political violence in Senegal usually doesn't go beyond or doesn't affect those that are not directly involved into party politics. What happened these last years was actually an exception, and violence was raised to an apex. That is absolutely not customary in Senegal.
Well, let's all hope that it stays as quiet as your family has described. Mamadou Diallo, pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for all of your insights.
Thank you for having me.